everyone. Welcome to another episode of Talk Israel, the real Talk Israel. We're still toying around with this name thing. Our guest today, will ask him to officially weigh in after he introduces himself. But because we're always evolving, things are changing. We are upgraded to the video podcast now. We're still kind of toying around with it. But today I'm really excited. And today is when the algorithms of social media are a good thing, because sometimes they're not. And sometimes they prevent us from seeing things. But because of the algorithms, I've been following our current guests for quite some time. Took me a while to work up the nerve to message you and be like, hi, I have this little podcast and I would really like to talk to you. But once I did, I have to say that you were like beyond gracious and nice. And I'm very excited and I feel very privileged to be talking to you right now. And so thank you. So today, I'm going to let you introduce yourself, but today we are, I would call you I want to call you like the international man of mystery, like a very little James Bond there, but you are so international. You're traveling all the time. But of course, before we officially introduce you, we must properly shout out your adorable mom in Israel. So
Yes.
Mom.
Mom, I love you. I'm on TV, Mom. I love you.
And just so you know, I've been pressuring your son that I'm going to be able to come visit you next time I'm in Israel. That's all I'm saying. I always watch the videos and I was like, your mom's so cute. So salam, shalom, welcome, Mansur. Please introduce yourself. Tell everyone what they should know about you.
Wow. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's my privilege and my honor to be here. So, thanks for reaching out and asking me to come. And I'm glad that we managed to make it happen. A lot of it thanks to you reminding me also, because I tend to forget.
Listen, you're like, remind me and remind me again.
Yes, remind me and then remind me again and again. Otherwise, I'm going to completely miss it. So, thank you so much. My name is Mansur. I'm an Israeli Druze, an Arab from Israel, born and raised in the Middle East. I am the son to an amazing mother in the world named Medina. Some of you might know her and seen her in the videos. I'm actually making a video right now. When I was in Israel, I filmed myself talking about politics while we were rolling vine leaves, me and her. And we also made a video. I told the mom, there's so many people asking me that they want to learn how to roll vine leaves, how to make Druze food, Arabic food. Is
oh my
interesting?
gosh. No, let's get your mom a little cooking show.
Yeah. So I decided I'm going to make, I think everybody should do that if you ask me. I'm going to be making different YouTube episodes called Medina's Kitchen. And the idea for that was in the beginning where I was talking to my brother and we said we should have my mom write a recipe book for her, food. And then I said instead of having just a book, we can have it a digital print. We can have a YouTube of different episodes, and then we will see it. Our children will see it. Our grandchildren. It will stay there forever, for generations. People who want to learn to make some kind of food. And I thought that's like one of the most beautiful gifts you can give your mom or your grandmother or your father or anyone that is cooking in the house. Record them and have it. You can have it private or international. So I'm making slow episodes. So now it's gonna be my mom making vine leaves, and I made it in English, Arabic, and Hebrew. So different people. Yeah.
Okay.
People
wow. Well, I think also just, if you think about it, oh, I just hit my hand. That happens a lot too. Is like just preserving that for future generations, because a lot of people talk about, if you don't ask questions of like the generation that came before you or the generation before that, there might be things that you like don't learn. And I'm having on tomorrow, we're talking to these sisters who live in Tel Aviv. Their parents were Schindler's List survivors.
Wow.
Yeah. And they were talking about how only after both their parents passed that they have found stuff that they didn't know. And it's like, I have another friend, her father was monumental in helping more of the Ethiopians escape and come to Israel, and she never knew that about her dad
He
when he was
probably
alive.
saw it though.
Because people, sometimes people feel like, oh, if it's something they don't want to burden, but there's also good stuff too. And sometimes, you don't have that chance to ask. And it's funny because I think your mom's personality in her video, and then when she's in the videos with you, kind of comes out. And there probably was a lot. I don't remember what she was making, but like someone, I don't know if it was a friend, like joined her. And, I remember like in the video, your friend's like, she's putting me to work.
Oh
Then
yeah, yeah, that was
so
Caroline.
much. I don't remember what she was making, but it was just so cute because I mean, your mom was definitely fully
Oh,
committed. I was like, is she feeding an army? Like, what is going on over
yeah,
there?
my mom grew up in a family of 12 brothers and sisters, and my grandfather was one of the first generals in the IDF as a Druze, as an Arab. Uh,
Yeah.
he was actually the first Druze to light the first non-Jew, I think, to light the Mishra. You know
Oh,
the
yeah, yeah. Oh, that's
so
cool.
yeah, so he lit it, and he was very high ranking. And he went to politics later on. He was a great friend with Yitzhak Rabin and other politicians. You know, he had pictures with Ariel Sharon and Moshe Dayan. You know,
All
during
across the spectrum of
oh yeah, he fought in all of the Israeli wars. You know,
yeah,
until so his house was a very known house in the village. So a lot of people will come. They had the first TV in the village. Had the first kind of a modern kind of house. So my mom was put to work cooking for 20, 30, 40 people since she remembered herself, since like fifth grade. She was helping.
for only four. I can't do that. I don't know how.
Oh, my mom. So even now, she doesn't know how to cook for like, two, three people. She'll always make food for at least 10 to 20 people and just naturally. And then as a kid, we always had leftovers, and I would run between all my Jewish neighbors, and I would just give them our Arab food. I would just give them like food, especially after Shabbat or
You had a delivery service. I didn't even know it.
yeah, yeah. My mom would tell me, listen, they didn't cook through the Shabbat because they're religious.
Yeah,
So Shabbat is out, go knock on the door, give them warm food or something.
yeah.
So I
That's
was
so
like, yeah, I
sweet.
was feeding the whole neighborhood since I'm a
Yeah.
kid,
So,
basically.
I think without meaning to point something out, you pointed something out. And I think because you're like, you're going to be like, yeah, this is just how it was. And it's something that's really funny. And I have talked about the Druze in Israel before, and people were like, and I'm like, no, not the Spaceballs movie. Funny, she doesn't look Druish. Like, no, Druze is not Drew-ish. Like, I was like, oh my God,
We're not druids. We don't run in the forest around trees. Yeah.
just yeah, it's like, but this idea that people are like, wait, I don't understand, and I'm like, okay, right. And then sometimes you have to make it very basic, but in Israel there are a lot of different people, right? There are Jews, there are Muslims, there are Christians, there are people of Arab descent, people of other descent, because that whole area, there's been like wars and land, like people have no idea, like people have migrated in and out of lands. Okay, there. But like people don't quite understand that, even, they're like, oh, so there's just everyone's just like Muslim Arab. And I'm like, no, there's so many all like little finite things. And I think that what I have found fascinating is, and I have to be honest with you, did not even know until more of a more recent adult time in Israel. Did As a teenager when I first went, I mean, all I really knew about, the Druze, um, was that, like there were certain like villages that were more concentrated, and that, Israeli citizens, everyone has the right, and like, but they, could do this and do, and everyone was so friendly. We went into, a village and everyone was so friendly. We're like, okay, like I don't really get it. Everyone seems the same to me. Like everyone seems the same to me. They just all live here, right? Everyone's just treating everyone nice. But like I did not realize there was also like a Druze village as far north.
Mm-hmm.
So I had driven through that for the first time a couple years ago. And my friend was telling me the story about how the people in this village got really upset when an Israeli soldier was kidnapped, and they went and like took care of making sure he was returned to Israel, kind of like as a whole.
When the Druze Israeli soldier was kidnapped, yeah, they brought him back in the day.
And I was like, that's awesome. So
Yeah,
cool. And it's like it was such a beautiful I literally had no idea this place existed in the north. But the north is kind of like that. There's those little pockets. If you don't like find it, you have no you kind of have no idea. Um but it's and people have no idea, like, Bedouins, Druze, like there's all people in Israel that people, I think the majority of people, well, most of the people who are, talking about, and we'll get to that, about what's going on right now, not in Israel, and not since, like, not even October 7th, but what's going on in the United States, because I think that that's something we should definitely talk about. People honestly have no idea about the region, you
oh,
know
yeah, that's a known thing.
and you're just like, why are you going to scream at the top of your lungs about something you know nothing about? And you know um I know that you are you say this on your social media all the time, like that you are traveling often, and sometimes you're here, sometimes you're there. And like, for someone who travels pretty often, like, do you find, what is something that you wish you could tell people about the region that they just don't understand? Like, I mean, for me, sometimes I feel like people just think that all Muslims and Jews hate each other or something like that. And I'm like, that's not at all the case. But
I think if I will have to tailor a message, so across the board, or maybe kind of make it more specific to Americans, is don't try to copy your country problems and politic tensions and put it on other countries. They have their own issues, they have their own history. It's just not everything is copy paste the same thing. A lot of times I think Americans kind of feel like, okay, right now in America it's all about white supremacy, and it's all about capitalism, communism, and it's all about LGBTQ. I don't know what, so it must be there as well. Like, and they try to put it into these boxes that they understand, but that's very ignorant, and that's very um, also condescending. I would say, if you don't know enough about a conflict, keep your mouth shut. Go
yeah.
study, go learn about it. Try to gather as much information that you can. Don't believe your phone, because your phone is the biggest trickster ever. Algorithm right now will have you hear and see what you want to hear and see, and what your friends around you.
Yeah.
Be careful of not forming an opinion out of just snippets of videos that you see in your phone. If you want to know about Israel, Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East. Israel is one of the most tolerant countries on the face of the earth, the planet. And I've been to many countries. In my job, I literally traveled the entire world. And I've been to many places and experienced a lot of cultures. And there's beautiful cultures all around the world. But I can tell you right now about Israel that it's a home for the Jews, it's a home for the Arabs, it's a home for Muslims, it's a home for Druze, for Christians, for so many nationalities who are living, peacefully and respectfully under a democracy. And as
Mm.
long as you respect that democracy will respect you back, which is anywhere in the world. Cross the law, hurt people, try to kill people, and there's consequences. F around, find out, like they like to say. So I would say don't believe a lot of the lies that you're hearing in social media. You know, if you don't have if you have only pro-Palestine friends, then be careful, because they're gonna tell you their side. Same thing if you have only pro-Israel friends, then be careful,
Yeah.
because like if you don't have enough people from both parties to give you and help you get an opinion, then
Mm.
just keep your opinion to yourself.
Yeah. I do think that, it's weird because, for the majority of my life, I've spent it in the United States. I'm an American Jew. Um, and that's something that I think is so funny because, like, when I say I'm an American Jew, because I was born here and I live here, right? So to say, like, oh, someone could say, like, I'm an Israeli Muslim, I'm an Israeli Christian, I'm an Israeli Jew, and people are like, wait, what? I'm like, why is that weird? Like, in America, but it's funny because I would say most, excuse me, most people who live in America who are Christian don't say I'm an American Christian. They're just like I'm an American. But like, I'm like, when you're of the minority, you feel like you need to like make a
The thing
clarification.
is,
So
I'm in Israel. I never used to identify myself as an Israeli Arab.
correct, right? Because you're just
Never.
Israeli.
But now I started seeing, like the need to help because there was so much misinformation going around and ignorance. So it became important for me to emphasize that I'm an Israeli Arab because there's
Yeah,
so many that are lying and saying that it's an apartheid and all kind of nonsense, which is not.
which is funny because I guarantee you, if you asked any of those college students, even if you like threaten them with something like horrible happening, if they couldn't answer you, they couldn't spell apartheid. They couldn't tell you what it actually means.
Yeah,
And
no,
and I'm just going to point this out now. I mean, I happen to lack skin pigment. Thankfully, my son has a lot more melanin in his skin than I do. But just and we're not, in person together, but just, we want to call Israel whitewashed. Look at you, look at me, look at you, look at me. You lived there, not me. So
right.
pretty sure you've got more melanin than me. I just find like stupid things like that. You kind of have to laugh at some of the stupidity, but at the same time, it's a little scary. It scares me what's coming out of people's mouths because, you know, it's not what's been corrupted of look, the Middle East. It's tension. There's tension in the Middle East. There's a song that's like "Welcome to the Balagan" that we call the Middle East. Like welcome to this crazy heated place. And I think I don't know if you experience this at all as you traveled the world, but I do find that people misunderstand Israelis very, very often. Like very often misunderstand
Mhm.
Israelis. Um, I love you all. But as a culture, one might call you intense or loud or to the point, which some people mistake.
I think we're a little bit like New Yorkers in some way. We're like in your face,
Listen,
and
again,
we're
I prefer this. I am moving to Israel in 1 year. This is always how I've been. So I've been very like people react to me very differently in the United States than they do in Israel. Like in Israel, people are just like, yeah, whatever, like it's totally normal. But here people are like, why is she so intense? I'm like, I'm not. It's just a lot of passion. But like, I think it's so funny that they mistake to the point um as rude. And it's not because I think overall Israelis are some of the Middle East is an incredibly warm place. And I don't just mean like, oh,
Mhm.
it's fun, like it's hot out there, because it is, and I also love that. But you were telling me earlier, we were talking about your mom, and I feel like we have to talk about mom sometimes because she is adorable. She might kind of overtake, your social media at some point, I think.
Oh, I have no doubt that more than half of my followers are there because of my mom and her food. And I'm fine with that. I'm the biggest advocate for my mom. She is
But
my hero.
she is awesome. But you know what the best part of it? You see how cute she is, but like she's always like, because you can tell she's like proud of you. And it's like, it's so cute. It's so apparent, like, what a wonderful family you have. But this is like the point. You're talking about, your mom and how, oh, growing up, you had Jewish neighbors and you lived, so there were Druze and Jews. I know if you say Druze and Jews like 10 times fast, it probably will come out really funny. But
Yeah.
helping each other out. Okay, so treat thy neighbor like thyself. You that it's just normal. Or, how people are warm, like, oh, if someone needs something, um, there's a million people to help. And I try to tell people these stories, like these realistic stories. And one of the like prime examples, and I feel like this is 100% something you would just be like, yeah, of course, obviously. Um, so one of my first returning times to Israel as an adult after far too long of not being there, as life gets in the way, I was like, just how like sometimes just your mind wanders and you forget where you are, what you're doing, whatever. I let my phone die. Like I didn't really charge it, and then all of a sudden I realized, I don't remember the name of the hotel that my friend works at that I'm supposed to meet. I don't remember the address of the hotel. I can't call my friend because his number is stored in my phone. So the three really crucial things I needed to get to where I was supposed to go were in my phone, which was dead. And I must have stopped on the street and had like a look on my face like, it's just like, what did I do? I'm so stupid. Or maybe I was a little upset with myself. But I can't tell you how many people stopped and asked me, like, are you okay? Do you need something? And I was just like, and then I was so, I don't want to use the word off put because it wasn't a bad thing. I was just so like, wait, what? Like, why are you? No, and then I couldn't even answer. So then they're like, oh, do you need English? And I was like, no, אני לא צריכה, אבל wait, what? Just like, and and then this one person's like, oh, what kind of phone do you have? I'm like, oh, I have an Apple phone. Oh, I have a Droid. Sorry, but go down the street. The guy at the coffee place sometimes has a bunch of cords though. So I go down there and I'm like, hey, do you want me to buy a cup of coffee? Like, I don't drink coffee, but I'll pay for someone's coffee. If I can I just charge my phone? He's like, you don't need to just charge your phone. And I was like, oh, okay. And then he's like, these chargers aren't working well. And he calls his friend. He goes, okay, go one block down and one block over. My friend owns a pizza place. This is his name. He already knows you're coming. He has a charger and it's air conditioned in there. You look like you're a little hot. Go sit down. It's just like, oh my God. So I go into the pizza place and I was like, hi. And then he literally had like a glass of water sitting waiting for me on the table and a cord. And I was like, oh, thank you. And he's just like, he goes, phone died. I'm like, mm-hmm. He's like, tourist? I'm like, no, I'm here working. I'm just stupid. He's like, no, it happened. So then I call my friend. I'm like, hey, sorry. He's like, oh my God, I was so worried about you. You weren't answering your phone. I'm like, it was dead. And then I eventually, mosey back. Now, pure contradiction. I was in New York City last week, walking to Grand Central Station, minding my own business. I was literally assaulted, like attacked out of nowhere. Not a single person stopped. I was knocked to the ground. Not a single person stopped. Not a single person asked me if I was okay. Not a single person offered help. I'm like, if this were Israel, the guy who attacked me, which by the way, he ran away because I screamed at him so loud. So he got nothing from me, except an earful. He would have been tackled in Israel. There would have been people around me, regardless of their, upbringing. If they're in Israel, you help. Like there's just this sense of community, and it takes me back to the that you made about
your. Thing that I miss about Israel so much when I'm outside of Israel, it took the good aspect of the tribal Northern African kind of culture and individual modern liberal, of Europe and the United States, and mixed them together. So you have a very, free society that is welcoming and accepting and tolerance. Doesn't matter, your color of your skin, religion, your sexual preferences, but it still have that family orientation where people will go out of their way to help you. Like that is so normal. People will pay attention to your face, will see if you're in distress, they will come and talk to you. People will get out of their way to walk you and help you, especially if you don't speak the language. They'll be very welcoming, which is something that is like I experienced that kind of hard in Germany when I was first here. I'll be in the train, and a lot of times I didn't have Wi-Fi or the SIM card, or my phone, like you said, died. And so many times I've asked people, excuse me, do you mind if I can use a hotspot? And they just tell me no. Or they just ignore me. And like literally no one wanted to help a stranger. And the only ones that helped me were in the end were actually immigrants, like people from
Africa. I've been there, done that. I feel your pain.
And in Israel, I feel like a no-brainer. Of course, man. Here, use my phone, stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, exactly. That's it. They almost hand you their phone. And it's funny because now with like phones evolving and no like physical SIM card, this eSIM thing, a lot of stuff is still like very glitchy. And like I couldn't get Move It to validate on my phone. I couldn't get the Get app to validate on my phone because it didn't switch me over to an international number, even though I was whatever. And I just would, so I felt like, all right, so here's what I normally do. I'll be like, I assess my situation if I need someone. And then if there's a soldier, I always ask the soldier because I'm like rolling the dice. I was like, younger, soldier, if my Hebrew sucks, they'll still understand me. That's how I kind of roll with it. Asking an older adult isn't always fruitful for me. Also because if they may not have the technology savviness that everyone else does, but
Yeah.
I've never once had someone say no. And then if you ask a question, like I asked a clarifying question about a train, and they answered me, and I was like, thank you. And I happened to be like in the vicinity still of them. But when like a train came through, she got up to tell me, this is not the right one. Wait, one more train. And I was like, okay, thank you. Like I understood the first time, but like the fact that like someone would go out of their way a second time to be like, and then it turned out they were getting on the same train, and she like looked back to make sure, and she was like, this one. And I was like, oh yeah, thank you, like I got it, yeah, thank you. I think that that's something that's really amazing, and it's not like I stopped and said to her, oh, like what is your background, what is your origin, like no, it's just totally different. And I love that aspect of it. And I
My
have friends.
mother calls me once a week, in the middle of the street, ask me to help people that are next to her, translate, hey, listen, this person's looking for a bus. Can you tell him in English? I don't know what.
Yeah.
So my mom even does that remotely through me back to Israel. Once a week at least. She'll be sitting on a train with some strangers and she'll call me to talk to them.
Yeah. I mean, it's just I find that like it's something I wish people really understood, because I think, and what's going on, and I know that you're not necessarily it's not like in your face right in front of you right now, with the way things are at colleges and universities, but when we've talked about this, and you and I have talked about this just, off air, um, I like to remind people, I'm like, first of all, like this has nothing to do with what's actually going on in the Middle East. I mean, that's just a given. But people seem to have forgotten that agitators were gluing themselves to streets in the United States, which, by the way, if you have not been in New York for the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, I urge you to do that once in your life, because it's just very interesting. And then the protesters glued themselves to the floor, and I was like, "What? You have an issue with Santa? Did he leave you coal last year? Are you mad? Are you cranky?
We
Did you
do
not
that in Germany also.
how you glued yourself to the street in the Macy's Day Parade? What is wrong with you? You don't like Garfield Balloon? You don't like Santa? What's the problem? What's your ideology issue with like I don't celebrate Christmas, and I love the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. I'm always interested to see what jolly old man is Santa, and I'm always like, damn, that looks just like the movies. But like, what's your problem with that? Or people who are blocking bridges or screaming and yelling outside of hospitals where people are getting cancer treatments, blocking roads to airports, blocking bridges. I'm like, none of this is peaceful. None of this. You're screaming and shouting about something you have no knowledge of. You, but I'm like, what? Why? Like why would you block a bridge, like what? And now in Israel, and I don't know how much with all of the traveling that you do, like last summer I was there, and there was some parliament, not like there was some like laws that came down, and not everyone loved them, right? Not everyone was a big fan. There was a lot of protests not in the streets, but people, like, you can get a permit, assemble on the corners. Like, people were not gluing themselves to the road and screaming and yelling outside of hospitals. Like, that's cool, because in Israel you can say, I don't agree with the government. I do not like this. You can say lots of things, because there's a freedom to do that there. There's a freedom to do that in the United States. But when you take it to this other point where you are, hurting someone's ability to receive life-saving care or something like that, it's problematic. And now, the infection has gone to the universities. And it's been looming there for quite some time, because the fact that there are adults, professors who are supposed to be the people that guide our youth, who support this is like beyond offensive. It's very disturbing. Like I worry for our morality overall as a world.
Mm-hmm.
But like I feel like, for someone who, allegedly they're screaming, yelling about, what do you think when you look at this? I mean, are you just like, what? I just
I think me and many others in the world are just shocked by the level of stupidity that we see there. And I think after you're shocked, most of the people also get worried because I think it's a national problem what you guys are facing.
Oh, 100%.
It's a national problem. It's an existential problem. This is the next generation of your country, and they are so easily brainwashed and manipulated and just ridiculous. The last protest in Colombia, or where they hijacked a building,
They
start
broke into a historic building,
start preventing Jews from entering, doing stuff that Nazis did, spitting on Jews and I don't know what, and then demanded to get humanitarian aid. Like, you don't need humanitarian aid. You just walk across the street and get yourself a bagel. Okay, sorry, bagel is
no,
associated with Jews.
it's too Jewish.
Yeah, get yourself, I don't know, some vegan tofu hot dog or something. Literally, that was my. But these are the next generation of your country, and I would be very very worried. And I spent some time thinking about it. Like, how can you become so delusional, so dangerously delusional and manipulated that you're practically supporting terrorists, associating yourself with Nazi ideology, and demanding humanitarian aid while you're the most privileged, white person on the face of the earth, basically,
Yeah.
almost. And one of the reasons that I came with is, students are the youngest version of adults. They're like the dumbest version of adults. They just became adults. Like a few weeks
Yeah.
ago, they saw their Spider-Man and they were like, concerned about the girl in the prom. And now they're just adults, but they don't have the experience that an experienced adult had, that have been there, been in the world, experienced failure,
Yeah.
tried to do a job.
Sure.
So they're much more vulnerable. And that's where the university in the US, I think, commit the biggest crime against these kids, because they tell them they're special. You're not special until you do something special. Yes, you're special in the eyes of your mom. That's cute. But you're not special to the rest of the world until you do something special. Invent an invention. Write a song that will change people's life. I don't know what, do something to make you special. But they are told that they're special, and then they get this void, they feel like they want to fill that special. And then they're so easily targeted to follow all kind of extreme radical,
Cult like. This is
cult
how prey on
behaving
people.
like zombies, walking around the streets, chanting all kind of crazy stuff. Like, and I thought to myself, like, how would these people be, effectively put back into normal society? These are your next taxi drivers, lawyers, doctors, parents. How,
Well,
so delusional. How would you get that? Some of them need to be hospitalized. The level of insanity that you
yeah.
hear is mind blowing. And it made me think a little bit. I think, the difference between Israeli young people and to American young people, especially like college students. I'm not saying there's amazing Americans that I know, but I'm talking about these, elite education institutes, which became
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
propaganda, zombie kind of brainwash institutes more than education. But when you're an Israeli and you finish your school and you go to the military, the first thing they tell you in the military is that you're not special. Not in a way to put you down, but they tell you you're all the same. Now you have potential.
Military
You have
thing.
potential
That
to be special, and we're gonna work toward that. And you're gonna work hard, and you're gonna achieve, and then you're gonna become someone that is gonna make a difference. And that puts you on the ground. But in the US, they're gonna like, oh, you guys are special. All the generations before you had no clue about life, but thanks to you, Samantha, you're gonna bring peace to the Middle East. Thanks to you, the war between Russia and end because you care about it, and everybody before you didn't care. And that is such a lie to tell Samantha. And now she's going around with a Korea saying Intifada Revolution, half shaved, she's a lesbian. She'll be thrown out of a rooftop or beat up, hide in a house just to breed children if she was in Gaza. But she's standing there with her gay friend behind her, and they're like holding signs of Queer for Palestine, and it's so insane. It's literally like people around the world that see these people just thinks like, wow, this is a level of idiocracy that we've never like imagined we're gonna see in our life. Seriously, it's concerning.
Yeah,
The world needs America to be strong. And if America is not strong, a lot of bad things happen in the world. And how can people like respect America when they look at these weirdos?
I don't know how I don't respect the country in which I live. I talk about this. There's a song, and I do still love this song and the person who wrote it. It's a country song, but it became like it was like one of those um especially after 9/11, around the anniversary of 9/11 or Independence Day stuff. And I'm proud to be an American because at least I know I'm free and I won't forget the men who died who gave that right to me. And I'll proudly stand up next to you and defend her till today. Because there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA is the song. And hopefully whoever's song that is, please don't sue me if I said too much of it. I didn't sing it. I just said it. So I don't know what the rules are, but for educational purposes, we just used your lyrics, and I'm like, am I proud anymore? Like, and then I'm like, how do I defend this country? Because I'm like, I can defend the ideals of this country, but I look at this generation who've been coddled, and they call them the participation trophy generation. Now, I am a parent, and my son is in high school, and so he is like, this is like his generation. And I think to myself, like, well, thank God I didn't raise my child like this. But I think you hit on something again without realizing you did, because you said, well, when you grow up in Israel, like you finish high school and you go to the army.
Mhm.
And so it's mandatory in Israel, which I think helps give a sense of community. And I do think that service, national service, it doesn't mean the military, but national service should be mandatory.
Yeah.
You have to understand what it takes. And these young adults have no concept of like responsibility or any of that. Now, if you join the US military, they also do that same sort of break you down and build you back up, right? Because that's
Back
what
in
you
the
have.
day, back in the days, you were forced to become an adult at the age of 14. You know, you were basically, I'm talking like years back. You will have to go and work clean chimneys with your father, or you have to go and start working selling newspapers in the street of New York to make a living, and you'll be married at the age of 16 sometimes, and people were forced to become adults very fast because reality was harsh. So there was something that broke between the change between being a child to becoming a man or becoming a woman. There was
Hmm.
sometimes today, that border has been, mushed away, and some people stay children till the age of 30, 40, kind of living in their parents' basement, and they never really face real life responsibilities.
Yeah.
And what's happening here is that, um, sorry, one second, I lost my line of thought. Someone walked in the studio. So
That's okay.
what I'm saying is, when you have a military service or a national service, it it helps you break from being your parents' child to becoming the real man or the real woman that you are now in the world. And in America or in the West, a lot of these kids are kids and then they go to college and they never really had to face real life. They never really had to work hard. They never really had to provide to their family. I grew up in a very poor family. I had to provide for my family from the age of 14. I was working 2 to 3 jobs until I was 18, sometimes 16 to 17 hours a day. And I will give 95% of my salary to my parents because, we lived in the street when I was a kid. So I had to really work my butt off from a young age. And then on top of that, I joined the army where suddenly I was, at the age of 18, 19, I was suddenly faced with real life and death situations with real responsibilities and pumped in a lot of morality into it, about the importance of being ethical, the importance of being a contributing member of society, the importance of standing for others, the importance of being strong so you can help others. So many real life lessons were given just naturally by going there. And when you don't have that, you just end up having these spoiled brats going to university, and then a year later, they're standing there chanting, Intifada revolution, calling for the annihilation of their country.
Right.
And what amuses me the most sometimes is seeing people from the LGBTQ community or the queer community, saying that they hate America. I mean, you guys are living in the best place in the world and in the history of mankind to be a gay person right now. So you're like, the whole history of mankind until now was never as privileged as you are being in America. And now you're standing there and you're saying, take this country down. Do you know how you've been treated in most of the world? So that just shows you what a level of entitlement and delusionally detached from reality that these people have become. And if they would have been mandatory, had to go to a military service or national service, just work in a hospital, help the nurses and the doctors and I don't know what, see real life pain, real life issues, families who lost their loved ones, see someone who is dealing with cancer, and I don't know what, like start seeing real life issues, work with the social workers, work with immigrants, with refugees. You'll start seeing, wow, the world is not all butterflies, and milkshakes. So there's like a lot of hard things happening in life, and it will put you in proportion. So I agree with that. I think that's a big problem that America have in
Yeah.
general in society. You don't have that barrier that breaks a child from becoming a man or a girl from becoming a woman. You're missing that.
Yeah, I do think that that's a huge piece of it. And in Israel and well, first in the Middle East, because life is a bit of a balagan or whatever. Um, things are moving fast and everything, and so you do grow up and you have to go into some sort of service. But you also, again, and I think this is something that this is a compliment, and I don't think you realize it. It comes across in a lot of your videos too. You make these points without realizing I think you're making them because you're just talking about a situation. But you're like, they're teaching you how to be ethical. They're teaching you how to be responsible. They're teaching you how to be strong so you can help someone. And to me, that really kind of hit because right now there's so much misinformation, and the fact that like the international court is talking about calling in and calling for the arrest of Netanyahu and calling for the arrest of IDF soldiers for war crimes. And I'm like, okay, first of all, no,
Yeah,
that's false.
delusion.
It's like false narrative, but the idea of literally like drops leaflets, please leave if you're a civilian, please leave because we have proof missiles are coming out of this building, so we're going to take the missile loader out, the
That
launcher out.
part is most moron.
Right. So obviously, like anyone who takes 2 seconds to educate themselves knows that like all of the misinformation, right? But the other thing that's interesting is like, this whole idea of ethics and responsibility of helping. And it goes back to the stories that we were like just the stories we were talking about. How your mom's like, oh, that person looks lost. I'll just stop. Like your mom could have 8,000 things to do and probably like hands full of groceries, but she's still gonna stop.
Mhm.
Not because anything other than like that's how her head works. That's normal. Like that's what you do because you're
Yeah.
supposed to treat people nicely. Like this idea of like how people were raised is so different. Like it's oh my god, 3 seconds, I have no patience. Oh my god. And sometimes like I'm guilty of the like no patience thing, especially since Jeff Bezos and Amazon like spoiled the hell out of everyone with Prime delivery. I'm like, what do you mean it's not coming tomorrow? What do you mean the protein powder is not coming tomorrow? And then I'm like, oh my god, like check yourself, Anya. That's so obnoxious. Like, no, but not, but I take the time to educate myself about things in life, and the thing that just it boggles my mind is, I mean, the contradictions that seem so clear, right? Um, like what the fact that they're like, well, we're camping out because we want to be green and have peace and all these things, and then you trashed a building. You broke and entered, you defaced a historic building, you literally are assaulting people, you resisted arrest, and like look at the like
You're
the
being racist. You're determining the fusion of black symbols and communist symbol inside. You trash the whole building. You're hurting people. I made a video that said someone should call their parents. Like, literally.
yeah. So
Rather
listen, well, that's a great question. But have you seen there's one video of this mom who recognized her son went out and was like, you get it. It's like, listen, I say this all the time. If anyone knows who she is, like, please have her call me because I want her to make a video. This is how you raise a child. Consequences. Like, because she was pissed. And I related to her because I think, like, if I may, I feel like in her head, she's like, oh, hell no, you won't embarrass me like this. Like, I did not raise you like this. I'll show you what consequences really are.
Consequences, like I've heard that maybe this video is from, the Black Lives Matter riots or from now. I'm not so sure, but I think it's still the same point. Like the
The point
parents,
is parenting.
what is that?
It's parenting, exactly.
Yeah, the parents thought their child was easily manipulated to follow some kind of radical ideology, to be a pawn in someone else's game, and that kid, that young adult, doesn't know still the consequences he will pay for life. If he commits a crime, he'll get a criminal record. If he might end up in jail, he might end up being even hurt in some of these peaceful demonstrations, hurt or even killed. So a worried parent will come and say, "Come back home.
Yeah.
I didn't raise you to throw your life like that because you've been brainwashed." And the biggest example of being brainwashed is U.S. Elite institutions right now. Like literally, this became a textbook of how does it look to be modern brainwashed. They're chanting ridiculous stuff they have no idea about. They're chanting Intifada. I don't know if people understand that. Intifada is suicide bombing, is beheading people, is kidnapping and torturing people. Intifada is radical Muslims going into kindergartens and weddings and schools and blowing themselves. Intifada is blood everywhere. Intifada is violence. Intifada is terrorism. That's what they're calling for. But these guys have no idea what they're calling for.
No, but the better part of that part of people screaming Intifada is some of them are yelling Infiltrata.
Yeah. No, that was a big shock to anyone who was in the Middle East.
Tostada, Infatada. I was like, is that a food dish? It's like, or the graffiti that they're defacing national monuments and things with, they're making spelling errors, which I was like, great, Columbia, Ivy League school, cool. You can't spell, awesome. So you're hate filled, you're stupid, and you're hate filled, and they're unleashing this on the world. But on top of that, it's like the fact that and you and I both posted about this and like post each other's videos of it too, which is funny. The fact that they're demanding amnesty. And I was like, sweetie, did someone tell you the word amnesty? Because I'm pretty sure you don't know what that means. But I know that I broke into a building and I've been camping out and I haven't gone to class and like I'm not following any of the rules of the code of conduct or like laws in this country, but like fine, you can't do anything to me because it's like unfair.
Yeah, it's just
What's wrong with you? Listen, if I missed a certain amount of classes in undergrad, and like unless you were hospitalized or had some really good medical reason and talked to the professor and then pleaded your case to the dean, you lost credit. They took your money and they said, sorry, no, that doesn't count. Bye-bye.
yeah.
Like there are consequences for your actions. I actually had to attend class. I actually had homework to do. By the way, why don't any of these kids have like things to do, study for finals? And then like I can't take my final. I'm like feeling very triggered that like the police came and I'm very triggered.
Yeah.
Okay, it was spell triggered, probably too hard. But the police are there because of what you did, or then the ones that are fighting the police. Like, listen, I'm sure you've seen the video of the kids with the up garbage cans that ran at the police. Could you imagine being in Israel growing up and someone running at the police like that? That would end very differently.
They played too many computer games. They played too much Fortnite. What kind of a La La Land they're living in? I would have loved to be in the briefing room when they were talking about, hey, listen, you're gonna grab a garbage can and you're gonna run, we're gonna tackle the police and we're gonna take their car and we're gonna drive into Mexico and they'll never catch us again. And then they go back on the ground, handcuffed, pepper sprayed, wake up to reality. It's like so. It's again an example of how delusional. How delusional are you? Play too many Minecraft and I don't know what Fortnite.
again, here's my comment. I say pick that kid up, put him anywhere else in the world. Put him somewhere in Europe. Put him somewhere in Africa. By the way,
They won't
Colombia,
survive there.
Africa is its own continent and a country. Just Uh, but like, try that anywhere else in the world and see what happens. Like, I give the law like law enforcement in this country takes so much crap. Like, there's all this defund the police, and then all of a sudden you want them, but then you didn't like what they did. And, oh my god, the self control that those men and women showed. Because I would have been like, listen, you candy ass. Like, I would have been like, you're gonna wish your mom was here. Like, because I just feel like someone needs to give them a dose of reality. And I feel
They would
like,
have done that in Russia or in China or in Iran. The police reaction would have been very different.
well, that would have been the end
Yeah, yeah.
of them.
That's what worries me a little bit, as I feel like if the consequence of their actions will not be harsh and publicly known, then you are inviting more, ridiculous behaviors like this in the U.S. Because at this age, especially, a lot of them don't know what they're losing, and if they don't realize, wow, these people were persecuted, they got jail time, they got a criminal record, they were shamed publicly for what they did. If there's not real consequences for what these people, because they hijacked the building, they acted like Nazis. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
They
and they go
they were
captive.
racist.
Yeah.
They were violent. They
Mm-hmm.
were, vandalism, right, left, and there's so many crimes. They were disrupting police.
For all this, who's paying for this?
Yeah, disrupting a police officer from his duty, that's enough to take you to jail.
Well, it technically is in this country, but they were arrested, processed, and then released within hours.
That's ridiculous.
And then the first round of Colombia, the president of Colombia refused to press charges, so they all basically, so these kids feel empowered and emboldened, and they're like, well, it doesn't matter. So in their mind, right, you just said it, if you don't have a consequence, then they don't understand. Okay, so in their mind, they've now learned, well, who cares? Like, yeah, I'll happily get arrested because I'll be out within hours.
Yeah, we got a cool adventure, dude. Remember the days? It's your country is doomed if they don't do that. I think in general, high elite institutions in the U.S. are gonna collapse.
Oh, I agree with you. I think that we are seeing the beginning of the downfall of the Ivy Leagues specifically. And
these students are not well functioning, like equipped to handle life. Normal people with brains in their head would not want to go and be in that environment. That environment doesn't tolerate freedom of thinking. It doesn't tolerate being different. That is just full of hate and anti-Semitism and propaganda. Who would want to go there? Honestly, it costs so much money. Like, who would literally want to go and study? I'm not talking the idiots. The idiots will want to go there because it's fun for them. But like the normal people that you want in your society, the people that will kind of maintain your country, who will
yeah.
have work ethics and family values, which is the foundation of every society that you live in, they won't want to be there. That'd be a mistake to stay there. So I think there will become alternatives. That's my opinion. I don't know which ones yet, but I think there'll come alternatives. Maybe YouTube will become a better education system.
I mean, look, it's there's a lot to unpack in all of that, and there are some schools like in what they call like red states, the more conservative states, Florida, Texas.
Yeah,
they're already saying like, go ahead, try to come on campus. We're going to arrest your ass. We're going to expel you. We will prosecute. We do press charges. They've had signs posted at graduation. Do not attempt to, protest. You will be forcibly removed. And I'm like, yeah, because again, let's say you're raising a toddler, right? And they throw a tantrum every time you go to the grocery store because they want a chocolate bar. And if you give in or give them a chocolate bar, say, no, I won't give you a chocolate bar because you're screaming, but they keep screaming, but then you give them the chocolate bar and you never stop them from screaming, what are they going to do every time that they want something? They're just going to scream and yell because eventually they've realized that they just wear you down and you're just going to give in to them no matter what they say because there's no consequence. Like their bad behavior is being rewarded. Now, I was actually interviewed by Fox News as a parent of someone, of a college bound, age child, and as a family, we've actually decided that American in universities are no longer on our list. We've actually we're taking a stand, and we're saying, like, we are not looking at any universities in the US now. My son is only strictly looking at universities in Israel. And they're like, well, isn't that giving in? I'm like, no, because I'm telling my message is to the university. I'm not giving any money to my alma mater. They can call me all they want. I'll tell them to suck it, because what they're doing is disgusting. Where I went to school, they're allowing this nonsense to happen. And I went to a school that was like it was like, how you talk about Israel, like, you could be whoever you want, you could love whoever you want, you could worship whoever you want. Well, that's how I felt like when I went to school. This college, I felt, was on top of it, but now they're capitulating to these crazy people's demands that literally have nothing to do with anything. But the other thing that I find just so funny, and I feel like I kind of wonder what your take on this, as someone who's not like in the United States having to look at it. The fact that, like, all these college kids, because, like, we don't even know if half of them are in college for real, and like, that they're taking national monuments and, like, wrapping it in, like, George Washington now has been defaced to a point where I don't know how they're going to clean that statue. Like, they've painted on it, they've put stickers on it, they put a keffiyeh on the statue. Like, they take American flags down, they burn them, they chant death to America. Like, I know that you said it literally makes you guys look like a joke, because it does, but, like, what is that like? And the fact, like, growing up in Israel, you're used to people covering their heads for a multitude of reasons, right? Different Jews cover their heads, Muslims cover their heads, some certain religious Christians cover their heads, and there's lots of different wrappings and covering styles and all that stuff. So I feel like when I'm in Israel, like, I don't even think about it. Like, I'm just like, oh, whatever. Like, there's like 1,000 different ways to cover your head because of, like, the respect. But but the people in Israel, whether they're Christian, Muslim, or Jewish, that are covering their heads, are doing it for the real reason, like their religious obligation. Okay, but then when you look at these idiotic Americans who don't know what the thing is called, can't spell it, don't know why they're wearing it improperly, or they're, like, wearing it like, because it's like the cool. I call it the new nose ring, because, like, I'm like, sweetie, do you understand what?
Let me explain once and for all, the covering the head, where it comes from. The kafia was basically something that the farmers and like local people, warriors, whatever will have. And you will cover your face either when there's a sandstorm, because you're walking the desert, and I've done that. I've hiked a lot in the desert, and a sandstorm will come, and you just cover your face. It will literally prevent you from having sand in your mouth and from dehydration. You will cover your face when it's extremely, extremely hot, because then your sweat will go into the kafia and will stay in it and will keep your head cool. Or you will cover your face when you're going to war. You don't want to be recognized. You don't want anyone to identify you. You're committing some kind of a raid. Or in this case, in the US, the reason they're covering their face is because of a criminal behavior. There's no other way. They just don't want to be recognized. They are promoting Nazi and radical Islam ideology that wants to destroy the US, wants to kill the Jews, wants to burn the West down. You guys are being invaded. America has been invaded by a different civilization that doesn't believe in its values. They want to take it down from within. Call it the radical Muslim world, call it China, call it Russia. It doesn't matter. There's people that don't like America being strong and moral and leading the free world. And they know that once America is out, they can do a lot of stupid stuff for free. So how do we take down America? We pollute their young generation and start making them, hate America. And this is part of the symbols. You start seeing people covering their faces and burning statues and burning monuments and burning flags and calling death to America. And if America doesn't wake up and start severely, giving serious consequences to this kind of behaviors and deporting people that are not from America, that are coming and calling for the death of America. I think that's like the most normal thing to do. Wait, you're not from America and you
Yeah.
want to call for death for America? Take your bags, go back to your country. We don't want you here. Like literally. And if they don't start doing that, you guys are gonna pay a heavy price. Not only you, but the rest of the world. That's why I care. I'm not an American, but I know that as long as America is strong,
Yeah.
the world is kept at bay. But when America is weak, you start seeing a lot of weak. And America is weak right now, and that's why you start seeing a lot very weak. And that's why in the perception of the world, the military of America is very strong. I have a lot of friends from the American military that are very good friends of mine, and I know it inside out. We talk a lot. I was a military expert myself, and we talk a lot about these things. But I'm talking right now politically. you know, America is weak, hence you have the war with Russia and Ukraine, hence you have October 7th, hence you have Iran and the Houthis. This is just ridiculous that they even dare to mess with America. America can literally wipe them out, but they dare because they know America is weak. They know America is not serious. They know America, they're looking at you guys like a joke. And if you
Yeah.
guys pick up, there's going to be sometimes being weak. Not sometimes, always. Being weak invites more violence.
Yeah.
If you're strong, no one is going to mess with you. There's no violence. But if you're weak, they're going to try and there's going to end up more violence. And that's what's happening.
Yeah. I mean, especially, the fact that you mentioned, like American service members, it's like the Houthis fired upon United States military bases and ships hundreds and hundreds of times. And it's
Yeah,
like,
unheard of.
and then it's like,
Here's the thing. Imagine, let's say, Israel was weaker and Iran was stronger. Okay? And Iran had a nuclear weapon and Israel didn't have. Do you think that Israel would have dared to shoot one rocket at Iran? Absolutely
well,
not,
of course.
because then they'll come and wipe us out. You know, do you think that Hezbollah or Iran will dare to shoot one rocket on China? Absolutely not. They will come. They're just doing a genocide to Muslims in China right now. They're having a
Correct.
concentration. They will come and wipe them out. The fact that Hezbollah dares to shoot on Israel, the fact that the Houthis dare to shoot on the US, on American forces, knowing that you are so much stronger than them, just shows you how much they disrespect you and how much they think that you are weak. Because in their culture, power is power. In their culture, power is respect, not
Hmm.
negotiation. And they think, these guys are not, to be feared. They're not to be respected because they're not powerful. Because if they were, they would come and beat the crap out of us.
Right. What are you going to do to me? You're not going to do anything because you
And
stood.
that's how they're perceived. That's the language they speak, and that's in the Middle East, people don't understand that the Middle East respect power.
Mhm.
That's one thing that a lot of people don't. If let's say you as an American now, you have an argument with your neighbor, and you're way stronger than your neighbor, and he wants to take your land or your backyard. Now you come and say, I can beat the crap out of him, way stronger, but I don't want to resort to violence. So you meet with him, say, listen, let's talk about this. Let's meet halfway. I'll give you half, you give me half, at least we have peace. All your friends around you will come and clap their hands. It's like, wow, that was a true sign of strength that she showed. She could have retaliated. She is stronger, but she chose not to. They'll clap their hands and they'll appreciate you. In the Arab world, it's the complete opposite. They'll say like, aha, that's a sign of weakness. We can take more of her backyard because if she was strong, she would have beat us up. But she's not strong enough, so she's trying to find other ways. So what you see as strength, they see as weakness. And what you see as weakness, they see as strength. And if you don't understand this language, you're never going to have, you're just going to have trouble at your door.
I mean, I could not agree with you more. And I think it's not comical because if you think about, right, like how many times has the West, particularly America, pressured Israel to give more land because allegedly it will create peace. So what Israel's done is chipped away at its actual, you know, geographical region, and obviously that has not worked. It might, work for a little while, but it doesn't overall. And then, like I think, we really do need to talk about this. Like, so on October 7th, all the way up through that morning, there was a ceasefire, right? There was There are, the rockets here and there, but there was not like an invasion into Israel. There was not anything of this magnitude. On that morning, Hamas was like, "Yeah, we're doing it. Today's the day." And they had help from a lot of different, you know, people, which is really quite disgusting if you think about it in just the society of the world. And what they did was so disgusting and inhumane, and the way they dismembered and disrespected, and just the absolute chaos that was caused against civilians. And then when Israel's like, okay, well, the army is going to go take out the bad people now, and everything they're doing is strategic, and they're trying to find their hostages, people are pressuring Israel, how dare you, how dare this. And it doesn't matter how lame the propaganda is coming out of Hamas. The one thing I will say about Hamas is they are a well-oiled machine when it comes to propaganda. Even though I know I'm looking at the same photograph of the same 30 men standing around the same hole, I know that,
Hitting
but
a
the
same naked body of the same, naked German girl, and still the West will make them look like they're the freedom fighters. I think what people fail to understand today in its basic Islamic studies, we call it ceasefire. In the Quran, they call it hudna, and hudna is a term that was used by the Prophet Muhammad and other, warlords in the Islamic world when two forces were fighting together and they were exhausting the resources and it's getting too costly and too heavy. They will call for a hudna, and the idea behind hudna is, listen, we're not stopping the war. We're just gonna call a pause. We're gonna resupply ourselves, get ourselves ready for the war. We're gonna come back and continue the war. Muhammad invented the hudna by tricking the other side, telling him, okay, let's call it ceasefire. But he didn't mean ceasefire. He kept gathering weapons, and more people went back and then went and killed them all. So what Hamas did was a classic hudna. Israel called it ceasefire. They didn't call it ceasefire. They called it hudna. Said, okay, listen, guys, give us some time so we can get more money, more international humanitarian aid support, so we can buy more rockets and build more tunnels and radicalize our entire generation of children so they all want to become suicide bombers and human shields. And then when we're ready, we'll come and kill you and rape your children and murder your elderly and all this stuff. That's what they did. You don't have ceasefire with if one side chooses to do the ceasefire just because he can't kill you. And that's what happened there. The only reason it was ceasefire is because they were not strong enough to kill us. And then they thought they're strong enough and they went, and now they're paying the consequences of their actions. But, that's not ceasefire. That's classic hudna as per Islam, the Quran. Let's wait a little bit so we can get more weapons, more rockets, more soldiers, train them, and then we can go again and start fighting.
And I think the other thing that a lot of people, and it was funny because even the way the media was reporting it here, I was like, really, none of you picked up on what you've just said? They're like, okay, well, the Hamas leaders are going to go to Qatar to talk to their leaders. I'm sorry, wait, what was that? Wait, they're not. Wait, the Hamas leaders are not entrenched with the people that they claim to represent.
They're
Their
billionaires.
lavish lives in Qatar. Like, the media reports it as if they have not been living a lavish life in Qatar all of this time, while the people in Gaza are starving because everything, all the water that Israel sends in, all the electricity, all the humanitarian aid that Israel and the US send in is hijacked by Hamas and not given to the people of Gaza. Nobody's talking about this.
Yeah.
Nobody. So all of the images, whether they're real or not, that you might see of someone who is like in a destitute situation is not because people aren't trying to do things. It's not. It's because of Hamas is actually stopping it because it fits their narrative. And the fact that, like,
it's a startup. They're richer than Taylor Swift. Hamas leaders
that's
have
scary.
money. They have like, I think, $3 to $4 billion each of them under his belt. They started a startup. A startup called, bring a terrorist organization, kidnap a whole country, use that whole country as human shields and as a
Yeah.
farm for humanitarian donations so we can become rich. That's their startup.
Oh,
Nothing.
and it's not like it's hidden. It's so clearly out there and people don't call it out. And the other thing is, like, I wanted to point out, and I wondered kind of what your take on this is. what people don't understand when these rockets are being indiscriminately fired into Israel, they're hitting Arab villages, they're hitting Druze villages, they're hitting Bedouin villages. Like these are people who are firing them off with like no regard.
They're hitting themselves. They're hitting Gazans.
Oh yes, and a lot of the rockets misfire and fall back. The one that they fired near the hospital that fell in the hospital parking lot, it went up and came back down. And and again, these people are storing these rockets, and they're in people's homes and near kindergarten. So when it goes off, people are being injured because it's not being launched from a military site. It's none of those things. And it's very frustrating because I feel like there's this constant misunderstanding. Oh well, no, it's just they hate Jews, or like the word Zionist has become a dirty word. I'm like, I have Israeli Arab friends that would consider themselves Zionists.
I'm a Zionist.
Because but I'm a proud Zionist, and I don't have a problem saying that. And I don't. It's not a dirty word, and you can call it the Zionist Empire all you want, because you know what? It was just May 4th, and all the space geeky people want to think about that. Sure, like, wouldn't you want to have an empire? I want an empire. I want my own little empire. Whatever. You're crazy, so call it whatever you want.
And Zion is just another one of the names for Israel. Zion, Yehuda. It's just one of the names. It's like saying I'm an Israeli. I'm a Zionist.
Yeah. I like to tell people I'm a Zionista. Or lately I've been reminding people I'm Zionist AF. Because it's like, it's so dumb. It's dumb, but it's scary. And again, like, we were joking at the beginning about how, like, next time I'm there, and it's funny because I was not able to go south at all this last trip, but I'm going south because I got to meet Mom, right? And like, you want to talk about, oh, Israel is this, like, it's segregated. Okay, first of all, it's not. Okay. I'm one of the palest people there when I'm there, but also, like, where else? There's not a lot of places like if I could, if it were Gaza, I could not go to Gaza to see your mom.
No.
They would never let, I literally would not be able to go in, but I can go and hang out with her and do whatever we want where she lives. And when they're calling for the destruction of Israel, and I want people to understand this, I mean, it's not our podcast listeners. I mean, I do get my fair share of hate, so whatever. Again, thank you for the hate. You remind me how important I am and how not important you are, and every time you tell me you want to kill me or you send me something hateful, I donate to a nonprofit in Israel. So thank you. And Bahatz fucking cha. I'm gonna get you one of those shirts. I made shirts. I made up a word, trademarked it in America as an image because it's Hebrew letters. So I took Bahatz l'cha, I cut it, and I put fucking in the middle of an episode. Bahatz the fucking cha. So, because when you're just that stupid, I've got nothing else for you but Bahatz the fucking cha. Or as they would say in the South of America, well, bless your heart. So, but like, you're calling for the annihilation of Muslims. You're calling for the annihilation of Christians. You're calling for the annihilation of everyone who lives within those borders. And by the way, if you don't know which river and you don't know which sea, I really don't know how to help you. I don't know if you saw the one of the videos where, especially when they were at the beginning asking people which river, and one of the responses was like, it's a river. So yeah, it's like a river. It's from that river. And they're like, okay, which sea? And well, like, the sea is like the ocean. So it's like an ocean. It's the sea, the ocean.
Embarrassing.
My head hurts. My head hurts because I'm perplexed. I feel like I'm a computer program that's like about to self-destruct, trying to figure out how could someone be this stupid.
I think in the next 10 to 20 years, if the world will become sane again, we'll have so many embarrassing videos and memes of adults that will be parents back then, maybe, that will just have to explain to their kids, yeah, that's your mom there.
Yeah.
Stupid. Like, I was like, the whole world know that your mom is dumb. Well, the whole world will know that your father is an idiot because it's all over the web right now. People saying such stupid, ignorant stuff.
Proudly filming themselves. So I'm like, listen, you put it out there. So I'm a share and shame person. I'm like, share this, shame them. They have to learn what consequences are. You know, you can't incite violence. You can't call for the destruction of a people and think that nothing will happen to you. And then the other thing that I think is so funny is like all of these other, you know, misconceptions and falsehoods out there, these narratives like, you know, Jews run the media. Well, obviously not, because if we did, we were doing a horrible job. Or when they say Israel's committing genocide, I'm like, well, Israel sucks at it because it's more population has increased exponentially. So I guess maybe we're just not, you know, maybe we're just not doing those things. But you know, on that point, I have to thank you because first of all, you put out meaningful content all the time. But secondly, you crack me up so often, and I think my only hope is, you know, I hope that this is okay, but I kind of was like, I had a little like fangirl brag moment, and I was talking to a friend that I think you know, Hillel Fooled, and I was like, I told him I was interviewing you, and he's like, that's a great interview, and he's like, good for you, because he's awesome. I'm like, I know, I was really excited about it, because I I try to bring, you know, perspectives and really like we talk about everything Israel, right? We talk about food, we talk about music, we talk about art, we talk about culture, we talk about the people and all the different types of people and the different cultures and how everything. And I think that's why the food in Israel is the best, right? You talked about how like you're doing like a cooking thing for your mom's the food of the Druze. I'm like, I'm down. I want to learn. And then someone's going to like do a fusion thing with that and something else, maybe like the Ethiopian influence. I don't know, but the food's going to be amazing. And maybe, listen, talk to mom, see if she's into it. But like, maybe we should get a couple other, like my friend's mom is Moroccan. Also amazing food. Like maybe we could get like his mom and your mom and then maybe a couple other moms and have like this like food bonanza. Like that would be amazing. Cause it's gonna be the influence of all of that plus the Israeli part plus all of it, and it's gonna be like a good balagan of amazing food. I think we should work on planning that. Let's talk about that another time. But like it's just this perspective that I feel like sometimes we have to be comical, sometimes we have to be serious because this is our future. You were literally saying it. You're like, these kids are going to grow up and be adults, and that terrifies me at this point because there's also the adults, the faculty, the people who have been preaching these things, which is terribly alarming.
Yeah, it's criminal.
Yeah. So I mean, I know that you know, obviously listen, if you are in my neck of the woods in the greater New York area, please always call me. And I definitely can't cook like your mom, but I'll do my best. But I plan on visiting mom next trip, so hopefully I'll get a tip or two from her. But like, I think it's very important that anyone who can, you know, share their story and you know, talk about everything. And I thank you for everything that you do, that you're putting out there. And again, I think you're a very sweet person and you're very humble because you don't look at it that way, but I see it like that, how impactful you are, you know. So I hope that you know that I do think that because of who you are and how your message comes across, that you are far more effective than someone like myself could ever be. You know, I mean, I'll say things like, okay, well, you want to like, you don't agree, like you're not willing to listen to me and you think that you're just so smart or whatever. I'm like, okay, well, that's fine. I love the sound of my own voice. I'll just keep talking. Right.
Hmm.
Like you got to joke about it from time to time, but like, when you have that chance, and I think that, you know, who you are is such an amazing opportunity to be able to like say things, whether they're talking about how everyone knows your mom, like you go to get into a cab and everyone knows everyone. You basically showcased an aspect of community without realizing it. You know, it may have been more humorous to you that like your mom's like quite the celebrity down there, but it's also a sense of community, right? Like she's recognized because she's seen on the street. The people just that is like the normal way of being, there are bad.
Recognized before the generation of social media, even just because she's a kind, loving person and people respected her.
Yeah, and that's it. So again, before she was there, people recognized her from the street.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, oh, I know her. She's so nice. I see her at the grocery. I see her at the super farm. I see her, at the market. I see her at the shuk. Whatever it is, I've seen her around. I know her. Oh, hi.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know her name, but I know to say hi to her. And like that's the different thing. I feel like these values, which are considered they used to be American values, right? But it's like, oh, they're like old and outdated American values, but Israel still operates under that
Yeah.
like,
Thank God.
family, community, all of that. And I do think that's important because I have, and I say this all the time, and people are like, wait, really? I have an Israeli Arab friend from Beersheba. He served in the army. He didn't have to, but he served in the army. He reported for reserve after 10/7. He's like, he is Muslim. They are a practicing Muslim family. He's like, these are my brothers and sisters. I'm defending my country. My other friend is a Druze police officer. Came back, was abroad, came back to see what he could do.
Yeah.
He's like, this is my country, this is my land, these are my brothers and sisters. And he's like, this is not, it's not about a two-state solution. It's not about Jews. It's not about Israel. It's about humanity. And I think that somewhere along the line we forgot that, and I don't know how to fix that, but I can only hope that like bringing people more attention to something like, by no means, do I think that I might necessarily impact anything as far as you go, but maybe, just maybe, if one other person that didn't know what your message was knows what your message is and then shares that with one other person, then like I think maybe slowly we can get there. I would really like it to happen, not liat, a lot faster. We need this to happen faster, but I don't know what to do, but I know that we're very broken as a society, and it hurts me as a parent. It hurts me as, just seeing the decline. One of the people that impacted me the most in college, which is I think why I'm so upset about what's going on in the colleges, I had a professor from Lebanon, Muslim Lebanese man who was a journalist in Lebanon, but he wrote pro-Western pieces. He was critical of the treatment of Christians in Lebanon. He was critical of the government. He was thrown in jail multiple times. He escaped and fled to the United States for his life.
Mm-hmm.
And he became a professor, and he was a professor of mine. And he was, he was like my advisor and everything. So oh my God, talk about a great cook. His wife, wow. I became like babysitter of their little kid. I would come over and watch them all the time. They would feed me all the time. We would talk about the Middle East. He would encourage me to be visiting Israel. He would talk to me about how much he missed Lebanon because he can't ever go back, and all he did was write pieces about how you shouldn't, disrespect or harm and kill Christians, like it because they're Christian, or you shouldn't mistreat Muslims like this. Like he just wrote, critical pieces, and he he can never return to like where he was born, or where his wife was born, because of what he did. And what he did was nothing wrong, and so he lives in the United States. But he was the person that pushed me. He was one of the people that recommended and helped like ensure that I had a job for the Israeli government, and I was able to do the work that I was able to do because of him. And like people seem to just not understand that at all. And so the person who made me understand my own culture and my own history and made me want to protect, Israel the most, a Muslim Lebanese professor.
Wow. That's
right?
great.
So don't you understand what I'm saying? But I wish more people would understand that, like, if you took 5 minutes, I jokingly, but not jokingly, say they can't identify Israel on the map. They couldn't even find Iran on a map. And Iran is a very large landmass. But then I say, you know what? I bet if I said to you, here's a map of Europe, okay, I'm going to pick an easy country. Where's Italy? It's a real kick because it looks like a boat. Can you find it? No. I'm not even saying like I get some people mistake France and Spain sometimes when they're learning the map of Europe. I'm not even saying find France, find Spain, or how about this? Find Russia. Also, really big. Not even saying that. But like, oh my God. But you know what? I don't think that most of these American students could identify the map of the United States and name all 50 states. That's a little scary. So I think that goes to our lack of education. I mean, in the United States, we don't even teach kids how to read an analog clock anymore. They only know how to read a digital clock.
Wow.
And they're banking on that. These people are zombies. Like I also recently saw a post, I don't know if you've seen this one. There were some Jewish students that were on campus and they were being like encircled, and this one older woman who clearly she was either a professor or didn't belong there, she was circling them and she just kept yelling, "Failed experiment," like a zombie, which was creepy. One. And then, kids were screaming and yelling things at them. And one guy kept grabbing his crotch every time he yelled. And I was like, are you checking to see if your balls dropped finally? Like, what are you doing? Like, what's that about? And then everyone is like, that's in this like a little mob that starts encircling them, is screaming and yelling at them. And the students are just trying to walk to class. And it's like, what happened to us? I mean, to be, if you and I walked on campus together, I'm willing to bet money that they would mistreat you the way they'd mistreat me, assuming because you were next to me that you were Jewish. Or if you said, I'm Israeli, they wouldn't even ask anything further. You're already screwed.
No, they're racist. They're racist and they're misinformed and just lost.
Right. Like Yosef Haddad was assaulted when he tried to talk to people. And I was like, do you know who this is?
He's
No.
from the Middle East. Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, guys, ahead of time. Mansur is awesome. And I'm just saying, I mean, I like to think I'm reasonably awesome, but like you want to hate both of us, like that's cool because we probably really don't need you. I mean, we don't need you, but we probably really like don't even want to meet you. So that's cool. But I don't understand. Like this is life to me. This is what I want people to understand. You know, what please keep doing everything that you're doing because it's awesome. Uh, because you are leading by example by saying like, hi, this is simply just right and this is simply just wrong. We'll definitely do a fun video, and we'll make sure that we call you when I'm there and stuff like that. But you are welcome to visit me and anyone I know at any time. I know that they'd be happy to host you. I'd love to. I'm trying to organize a larger forum. I'd love to invite you to be there. We'll talk more about these things as they come up, but like I really appreciate you taking the time to introduce yourself to my Talk Israel, Real Talk Israel audience.
I think Talk Israel is like short to the point. That's
So I think that helps a lot when people are able to see, what we're talking about. But I thank you immensely. I hope you enjoy whatever remaining part of your day that might involve any sort of leisure time. I hope you give yourself some leisure time because it's important. And and honestly, anytime you have anything you want to say, you are welcome on this podcast anytime for any reason. Um, so please just message me and come on for any time. Any like last thoughts you want to tell the audience? Doesn't even have to be monumental. It could be funny. It could be whatever you like. No press.
Raise your kids. It's how we're gonna bring peace to the world. Honestly.
Yeah.
My kids have no idea about Palestine, about Jews, Christian, Arabs. He's 5. He's never even heard an opinion about it because I don't want him to hear about it now because I'm hoping that in 10 years from now, 20 years from now, there will be peace. And I don't want him to grow up with prejudice thinking that Palestinians are bad or that Muslims are bad.
Yeah.
Hoping that a lot of the Palestinians and a lot of the radical Muslims will wake up and become, more moderate. So raise your kids. Just, teach your kids to love. And if you don't need to be a big peace activist, take care of your own home. Raise your kids to love, to be critical thinkers, to be smart and strong enough to not take any dumb ideology that's thrown at them. And you're gonna make the world a better place.
Yeah.
1 kid, 5 kids, 10 kids, doesn't matter. Just focus on yourself. I think
Yeah.
that's what I would like to finish with.
Well, I will echo that thought with both Bezrat Hashem and Inshallah, because we need that. And as a parent myself, I do try to teach my son all of those things. I mean, he's significantly older, seeing that he's 16. My God, cherish this time because it goes very quick, sir, very quickly. But I do think it's very important to, teach those things. And I was taught those things, and you were clearly taught those things. And also, your life becomes better when you treat people kindly. It takes so much more effort to hate than it does to love. Why do you think, like, babies, right? Like the age that your son is at, no matter what his classmates at school might look like, he wants to play with all of them that are nice. If one kid is just mean and hits every kid, nobody's going to want to play with that kid because he's mean and he hits every kid. But he's not like, excuse me, what is your family background? Excuse me, what is your socioeconomic background? Excuse me, let me decide if I'm going to play with you. No, your son is going to want to play with kids because they're nice and they're there, and that's his community and those are his friends. And I think that that's it's also like, it's like babies and dogs, right? They literally feed off what they're given
Yeah.
because they haven't formed preconceived notions. So maybe if we all took a step back and remembered, like, everything I need to know for life I learned in kindergarten. Yes. Caring, sharing, basic math, basic, writing and reading and speaking and manners. Maybe we'll all be in a better world. So
Amen.
on that note, let's say amen to that.
Thank you.
And thank you so much. I cannot wait to have you back. And let's see how it goes. And can't wait to visit mom and to learn something new, because I'm
Awesome.
trying to step up all my culinary skills here with different cultures. So thank you again. This is Anya Farber, guys. All of the contact information, if you want to learn more about Mansur, like how to reach him, uh, what his social media handles are, they will be listed in the description. But again, please do not message me and say, "Oh, how other ways can I reach him?" No, we are going to put out the ways that he is reachable. Okay. And he is accessible, guys. Like, he does have a life, but he is accessible. So the ways to reach him will be here on the podcast. We obviously welcome all comments all the time. But again, just remember, guys, if you're going to tell me how, because my Jewish blood's going to run in the street, cool. That's cool. Thank you. Bring it on, because I'm just going to donate to a charity. So